Oh, oh dear, I forgot to switch my microphone on. I'm sorry. Is that better? There are so many checks and balances when you're doing a broadcast. Sorry about that. And thank you, Dr. Mitu, for telling me. And I hope I've not wasted too much time. I suppose you had fun watching me communicate without my voice. Well, that's maybe a very good example of what I've been talking about for the last few minutes. I've been talking about the fact that communication is not principally about the words we say at all. And we can see this with children, even with animals, with pets. You know, we may say something, words may come out of our mouth, but the state from which the words are coming is perhaps not congruent. So I've been teaching nonverbal communication at university level now for a long time to foreign performers of English. And so we have great fun when we try to say our address in an angry voice, or when we try to say our names in a very sad voice. So we can have great fun playing with the different states of being. And yes, to a large extent, my students, my foreign students, have to be actors in order to become really good communicators in a foreign language. So communication is not about sending information principally. And nowadays, we send information mostly textually, or like this. I'm sending you information in a live broadcast. So the quality of the relationship that you are building with your communication, because I believe communication really is about relationships, principally. And so the quality of that relationship that you're building depends much, much less on the words you say than on the state from which they arise. And I gave the example here of Japan, because in Japan, we use a lot of formulaic speech when we're talking with people we don't know so well. And that gives us a chance to read the air. So most Japanese communicators will be very busy if they've met you for the first time, trying to read your signals. And really, they don't care so much about the words because they're formulaic here in Japanese. Of course, in English, we don't use such a lot of formulaic language, but we don't read the air either often. So, yeah, also with burnout, if somebody is burning out, they may be saying the words they're supposed to say. They may be reciting a script or repeating something they've said often, which has become their kind of signature. But if they're not connected to that through their state of being in their body, in their spirit, then those words, even though they may be polished, they may be pronounced beautifully, they may be smooth and so on, but they will not reach the audience because the state behind the words is not congruent. So when we're burning out, if somebody is speaking to you and there's a glazed look in their eyes, they're speaking perfectly, eloquently, perhaps, perfectly smoothly and so on. But if there's something not connecting through their eyes, or maybe through their body posture, maybe through their breath, if their breath is very shallow, then it may be that they are burning out. And those who are burning out are not connected to their true nature. They're disconnected. That's the whole point. Burnout is about spending so much time here in the intellectual visual mind, which I call a firework display. It's wonderful, it's fabulous, but it's not where we need to live our lives from. So if burnout is about disconnection, then we can say that the body and the intellectual mind are not really connected. And so the body may be in great distress. The body may be anxious, numb. And this is what being online for long hours without a break can often do. And in fact, burnout is a complete breakdown of the nervous system because of being trapped in what I call the limited mind. It's brilliant, don't get me wrong. I'm not criticizing it. I'm saying that it's superb, but it's limited, and we can't live in that way. And if we do try, then we burn out because the nervous system is not connected. The body is not connected with all of those fabulous ideas and concepts and analyses and data and all of that, which we need. We need that in our present digital era, especially. So the quality of a relationship, which we are saying communication is about relationships, depends very little really on the words we say and much more on the state from which they arise. So, for example, we can look at non-violent communication. As a Buddhist, lifelong Buddhist, I have worked a lot with non-violent communication. It's very, very different when you start to speak from your heart, because non-violent communication comes directly from the heart. And so it means that, thank you, Dr. Wohra, thank you. Yes, it does. And so if we are non-violent, as Buddhists are, and a good example of this is Mahatma Gandhi, who's one of my heroes, who was all about non-violent communication, then even before the words reach our lips, we've got body, we've got breath, we've got presence. So for me, if somebody is speaking without being connected to those things, really the speech doesn't work and the voice doesn't work either. And so in a lot of my work online, often with burnout victims or people on the verge of burnout, I don't need to know their story. People are keen to tell you why they think they're burning out or why they are burning out. But I don't want to know their story. I want to hear their voice. So I ask them to make me a 2-minute audio file and get them to talk about anything. Doesn't matter the topic, not the story behind the problems, because I'm not a therapist. Okay. And what I do then is I get that audio file and I sit back and I really listen to it in detail. I'm a music therapist. I was a music therapist for many years. I'm a body worker. And from that voice, from the oscillations of that voice, I can read their state, the state behind those words. And very often that will give me so much insight into the problems that the person is having. And I can very often tell if they've got pain. Some people come to me with pain, then I can tell where that pain is from the range, from the vocal range. Very often someone in pain has a very limited vocal range. They're not using their chest register. They're very much in their heads, so the voice is very hollow, high-pitched. And for me, the vocal range really matches the spine. And so I can tell if somebody has pain. I can very often say, I think you've got low back pain. And I'm usually right. So, yeah, I can read so much more into how people are communicating from their voice than the words that they say. And very often I don't want to hear the words, because those words are probably negative. They are probably overused, platitudinous, and perhaps that person is saying those words over and over again to people around them. And if they're negative, or if they're not compatible really with the situation, then they are just reinforcing the problems. Yeah, and I've worked with lots of people to free them from those words which they have become fixed upon. And once they're free of them, then we can find new words that are more compatible, that are more non-violent, in fact, and that suit their anatomy, that suit their vocal hallmark, if you like. So the fact is that the body is always listening. It's always transmitting, and it's always receiving. We can't stop that. Of course, we find anomalies with autistic syndrome people, with elective mutes and so on. I've worked a lot with such people in the past. But for the most part, then we are constantly transmitting and should be constantly receiving. Nowadays, we've got a problem which does relate to burnout, because most people who burn out are transmitting only. They've created this one-way communication. They're not listening to others. They're not prepared to miss an opportunity to transmit their message. And they believe that that's the way to success. Constant transmission without any receiving. They're scared to step back and say, oh yeah, I'm going to stop transmitting my message and see if I can receive other messages. So very often, burnout victims are transmitting only. And even when you talk to them about their state, they're not listening. So one of the first things I have to do is get them to listen deeply. And usually that means whole body listening. So I will take them into a mindful place, and we will really activate whole body listening so that they're really beginning to listen. And then it's amazing, because then I get eye contact. But very often when I start to work with someone, there's no real eye contact. The eyes are not connected. Gradually, when they start to really listen with the whole body, then I get some real eye contact. And then I know that I'm being received. So, yeah, speech is presence made audible. So that's why this week my theme is speech. And this is part of my whole approach to working with burnout victims. I use Lodestone, my Lodestone, which is a 30-day program. And with that program, we gently and consistently reconnect with our true nature, burrowing down under all the layers of conditioning, all the layers of anxiety, all of that, which are generated here very often. And we come down into the heart, down into the solar plexus, right down into the base of the spine. And, we start to really look at where this speech is coming from. As a little example, I worked with someone a few months ago who had terrible back pain, and so severe that she contacted me, even though doctors had given her up. They'd done every possible test, and they couldn't find anything wrong at all. So she contacted me, and she made an audio file for me, and I listened to it. And I knew where the pain was from that audio file. And I told her, yeah, you've got this most acute low back pain, which is very common in human beings, because the base chakra is where we really support all our weight. It's also the center of the site of birth for women, of procreation for men, and of elimination for all of us. So, if the base chakra is blocked in some way, then we will get a lot of low back pain. And of course, we're in the gravitational force. And, if we're fighting to be upright because we're very tired, or we're in the wrong state of mind or state of being, then the low back will be the first place to sense that. And so this person then, I got her to talk about her situation, and she said that I asked her what she was telling her friends about this situation. And she said the words very glibly. She said, oh, my back is so painful, I will never recover from this. The doctors have written me off. This really is appalling, because it is so negative. And each time she says it to a family member or a friend or anybody, it's reinforcing the negativity, the hopelessness of it all. So we started to work on a new script to tell her friends and family. But first of all, we looked at the word my. So I asked her to say, my back. She said it, at first very weakly, my back, just throw away. Gradually, her eyes began to focus more. She looked more aware. And then I said, whose back? And she said, my back. My back. And she touched herself as she said that phrase. So this word my is a really good example of what I'm talking about. If we don't own those words, as clearly she did not, she was throwing away this formula, which she was telling the same way almost every time. Once we dismantle it, and start to work with the words, then we can reactivate that word my. It becomes suddenly alive. It becomes vibrational. Before I worked with her on just that word, she was throwing this away. Oh, my back's so painful. Nothing there, hollow, no meaning, nothing coming from those words for me. When we started to take that word into her body, and she explored her chest register, and we went down into her lower body with that my, then of course the emotion came. She started to cry, and soon we re-scripted what she was telling people about this, and we found out the trauma behind it. Now, I can't relate that to you because it's confidential, but there was a real trauma behind it, which was 30 years old. By reactivating the word my, all this came out, and she was able to get rid of all her pain entirely. 6 months later, I'm still in touch with her, checking up on her no pain. The pain has gone. So, in short, every word we say out loud or in silence to ourselves instructs the body. It tells the body what to do. So in this case of my client, then she was constantly, repeatedly telling her body not to recover from this pain. We can change that. And this is what I call a 30-minute recalibration. I changed with her that script in 30 minutes. And after that time, she was completely free of pain and still is. So, yeah, if we look at the limited mind, this mind, and how it works with speech, then, you know, we can see it's constantly saying, oh, what should I say? Oh, how do I sound? Will they approve? Did I get that right? We're constantly second guessing what we say. And so many people get over that by memorizing a presentation script. And they use slides to guide them. And they think that that is really communicating their message to their target audience. Well, you can see that it's not. Those words may sound polished and they may fit beautifully with the slides, but they're not really touching anybody because they're coming from a dislocation, from a disconnection with their body, with their inner states. Now, you may say to me, what do you mean inner states? And of course, the limited mind doesn't really want to know about these things. But I can tell you that a really good example of a state of being, and you can access it right now, is gratitude. We think gratitude is a metaphor. We think it's a group of phrases and words we can throw around glibly, perhaps. We think that's going to be enough. But I can promise you it's not enough, because gratitude is a state of being. It's deep inside your body. It's right at the base of your spine. Excuse me. For me, it starts in my lower abdomen and it emanates up the front of my body towards my heart. And it brings tears. It brings smiles, because I am so grateful to be human and to have this opportunity to be a human being. It's a struggle sometimes, but it's a glorious struggle, and there is so much we can overcome. So that requires balance. And you've heard me say this so many times. If we balance body, spirit, and mind, unlimited mind, the mind of the heart, the boundless mind in which anything and everything is possible, then we will not only avoid burnout, which is something to be utterly avoided. It's a horrible, horrible condition. We'll not only avoid burnout, but we will find everything in our lives more joyful, more filled with significance, because we're working from that foundation of gratitude. In other words, we're saying, I am so grateful for what I have now and here with my breath. Now and here and the breath belong together. Your breath is always going to take you to that place of now and here, that place of presence. So if we have gratitude as our foundation, life becomes glorious. Each day is glorious because we have so much here and now. The principal thing being our breath, which not only allows us to survive and thrive, but also to communicate vocally. So if we're here and now with our breath, and we are grateful for that, then everything else that we receive in the outside world, in the world beyond our skin, is a bonus. Everything is a bonus, and that's how we can celebrate small wins. People are always saying, celebrate the small things that are going right, that you are getting right. Many people say they can't do that because they're too trivial. But if we are grateful first, if we have that foundation of gratitude to work from, then yes, the smallest thing, completing a difficult email, writing a landing page and launching it successfully, reading a paper, all of these things will become small wins, and we can celebrate them. And we can gradually, from our foundation of gratitude, become completely content, and then use that contentment to build our business, to do what we do in the outside world. So another thing I'm always saying is everything begins and ends with self. And until we have those things right, until we've got them sorted out, and so until we're connected truly with ourselves, then everything will be out of kilter, out of balance. That's exactly what burnout is. So we're coming to the end of our time, and I'm so sorry my microphone was playing up at the beginning. My fault, I forgot to switch it on. I've got so many points to switch it on from, and I forgot. Anyway, I hope you get the gist of what I'm saying. This week then, speech is my topic, and I'll be writing about it. I'll be posting endlessly about it, and the events this week will be about speech. So Your Body is Your Business Plan Masterclass on Wednesday will be about speech. Then the embodiment Q&A on Friday, speech. And I'm going to talk to Margaret Barry too on Thursday about the music of speech, because that is Your Body is Your Business Plan. So if you'd like to connect with this narrative and go deeper into it, there are many points at which you can connect with me this week. Please check out my profile on LinkedIn, my YouTube channel. And of course, if you want to go to the horse's mouth, then I must mention my book, which is called Your Body is Your Business Plan, Avoid Burnout. That's available on Amazon. And in there, I've got a whole section devoted to everything I've mentioned today. So I'll put all of that information in the comment box below this live window. Thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you, Dr. Vohra, for being here. So glad you're here. Please continue to comment. I'd love to get into a conversation with you. And yes, please, if you have any questions or any comments about what I've mentioned today, please don't be shy. Put them in the comment box and I will respond. It's a great way to keep talking about these important topics, so important. So thank you so much for being here. This is Lyndon Thorpe at the Burnout Breakthrough. I'm here every Monday. And if you would like to come and join me in the studio I love to invite guests along, and we can have a really meaningful conversation about burnout and the topic in general of the week. Then please sign up to get a link to come and join me in the studio. Thanks so much for joining me today. I'll be here again next Monday with the Burnout Breakthrough. Thank you so much.